Hello, welcome to another edition of Low Code Campfire for January 5th, 2024. We're journeying into the new year with Low Code. Glad you're here with us today. This is an event we do every Friday, except say at Christmas time, but 10 a.m. Central Time this hour. This is an all skill levels welcome meeting where we get together to share techniques and challenges and experiences with low code. We encourage you to bring something to show and be ready to help your fellow low coders. All these editions are posted out on YouTube, so there's 127 episodes out there right now. Lots and lots of good training content. We run a pretty simple agenda. We say hello, and then we go around the campfire. We always start with first call, but then after we'll get into some of these other things, the campfire website contributions, feature requests, any submitted topics. But after an hour or so, we turn off the recording, raise a virtual adult beverage, and enjoy each other's company for a few more minutes. So do stick around for Afterglow if you have the time to do that. But do engage with us. Jump in, show and tell, come off of mute, except if you've got noise going on behind you. So that's a good one. Other than that, be nice. You can submit questions and topics in advance. Use this QR code, or some of the emails that we send you have a link that gets you to there as well. I'll just mention a programming note. The Low Code Cafe comes back on January 10th. So this is our bi-weekly webinar series where we focus more on training rather than talking. And so I'll have a topic picked out. I think I'm going to deal with load state and save state. I think there's some underused techniques there that we'll reveal and talk about. So but anyway, that's Wednesday, January 10th. So sign up for that. And that's again, this same hour. With that, hello, Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Good
Happy
morning
New
and
Year.
Happy New Year. Hello.
Happy New Year.
Welcome back. Anybody bring a first call today?
First call of 24.
That's right.
Who's playing the Jeopardy theme?
Okay. Yeah, I when I started this series, and do you know we're coming up on 3 years we've been doing this? But when I started this, I threatened to sing. I was concerned that nobody would talk the whole hour. I've never had to do that. So we'll get into something here in a minute, but we'll give you a second more to come up with something.
You can sing Old Lang Syne.
So Ben, I'm gonna ask I'll let you decide whether you want to answer, but you were having question issues trying to download our updates. Our automatic updater wasn't working for you. I was wondering if you got past that yet.
To a certain degree. So yes, it was definitely being blocked. That was the problem, because apparently some of the supporting files are being flagged as potential viruses. And let me see if I can pull up the company, because anyone using the same company is going to have apparently the same problem.
While looking at this, that Ben was encountering a screen that was asking him to install the dependencies, which can happen during an update, for example. And so we download a lot of content from our CDN, and that content delivery network is on Amazon CloudFront. And so you have to have, one of the issues that we've seen in the past is that it's I think it's TLS 1.2 SS for the security settings, and you have to have certain ciphers enabled. So if you have the current if you have common ciphers enabled, if you don't have them enabled, you get an error on the download. It just won't download. And we thought, Ben and I have encountered that one in the past. And so we started there after we determined that all the ciphers were enabled. Then we got into maybe we're being blocked by corporate blocking software. So making sure antivirus and things like that. Did you find the
Right.
name?
No, I'm gonna, I'll send a query over to the networking people, see if they can send me the name of the software that was being used. I think he told me over the phone, and I don't recall it. And I was looking in my email, and I was like, oh, it's not in the email. But so yeah, basically what happened was initially we're just getting a internal server error 500, which anyone who's gotten that knows that's just basically a big question mark because it gives basically no details and no information, and it could be a variety of different things. Knowing that it happened in the past, like Dale mentioned, we had that issue when it came to the TLS protocols that were enabled on the server. Went through that gamut. That wasn't it. But while we were working on it, I got a notification from our networking people saying, hey, by the way, our firewall/virus protection is giving us alerts from this particular server, which happened to be the server I was working on. So working with them today, it was more than just that one file, but there were actually, I believe, two that it came across that it was complaining were potential viruses and blocking. Now, the thing is that apparently this hit during the full upgrade. So when I tried, I was basically staring at that Plantain app logo pulsing for the longest time, and I'm like, something's wrong. So when I went to refresh the page, that's when it told me that my tokens had dependencies that still needed installation. And that's when I started noticing that it wasn't able to install. Now, after I got through the whole entire thing, I started seeing other problems. So I'm wondering if the interruption of the installation caused more problems that weren't repairable because I had certain grids that were not showing any data anymore. So thankfully I did a backup. So I literally just finished restoring the backup like 5 minutes before this session started. So I'll have to see if I can run through the upgrade again. And hopefully this time, if there's no interruption, it should go through cleanly. But we'll see how that happens. But yeah, as soon as I find out what the name of that antivirus software is, I'll let everyone know.
I'm looking at one that says CISA. Is that the one?
No, CISA, that's the cybersecurity, like a council out there.
Okay.
And basically, there is a system that we employ, a service that we have that periodically does penetration tests as well as security flaw testing on websites and servers. And that's basically the report that it pulls out. It's just a cybersecurity report showing all of the known security flaws it detected on a website.
So that was the one that triggered you to start your upgrading process.
Correct. Yeah. So
and
it
then
was
your virus alert was a separate virus protection product.
Exactly. Yeah, those CISA reports were sent to me by our networking crew, basically telling me, because since our agency we kind of float in between local districts and the state, but we're governed by many state rules. We have to be sure that we close any potential holes. So as soon as that report came, then it became my highest priority to upgrade. So all of my other projects that I've been working on have now been put on hold. And I can finally say I'm starting the process of moving away from 118.
Oh, congratulations. I'm glad that's
awesome.
That's moving. But yeah, so as an upgrade thing, we've been dealing with, I wouldn't be surprised if what your guess is correct, that an interrupted installation can be problematic. And so always, 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 I highly recommend that you have a backup before you install things, even hot fixes, because while most of the time those things go through without an issue, if they fail, they can be very annoying. But certainly on a major update, and I know you're working with a dev system trying to explore the production, which is actually another good pattern to use, right? Not just trying out the updates on a production system, because there's going to be differences, things for you.
Yeah. And even if you try out things on a test system first, when you go to production, still make sure production has a backup, because there can be variables.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
two servers are ever going to be,
Yeah,
well, I shouldn't say ever, but no two
Yeah.
servers are usually always 100% identical.
Yeah.
There could always be, one patch difference between the two that can cause an issue. So what
Well,
I mean, I don't know about other people, but usually what I do is I have my dev system, I clone a live site, I go through the whole entire gamut of whatever upgrades I need to do, and I document everything, even the errors and how I get around them. And I back up in between everything, and I document all that. Do this, do a backup, do this, do a backup, upgrade here, do a backup, da da da. When it's all said and done, then I have my roadmap of what to do on live, step by step, and it makes it a lot easier to perform all that on your live system. And at least that way, it also kind of gives you an idea of how long it's going to take you. So you
Yep.
could tell your administration or your clients the site's going to be down for X amount of time.
Absolutely. And you've hopefully encountered all or most of the issues and can overcome them. So, yep. Just kind of conversationally, one of the things that we're dealing with as a product team is, and something that we're going to make changes in our product. The update process, we want it to become as bulletproof as it possibly can. And one of the things that we've become aware of is that if in the middle of an update, your site is still getting requests for people trying to interact with the site, that can trigger our scripting to start prior to when we would like it to start. So, for example, during our upgrade, we're trying to install 10 different module updates, and then at the conclusion of that, we want to run some scripts to get the database to do whatever needs to happen additionally after the modules are installed. And if that scripting gets triggered too soon, it can cause problems. So we're working on making it so that the site that can't be interrupted, right? That once we start that process, that it.
Can I make a suggestion?
We'll take suggestions. I'm people much brighter than I, and I'm just trying to explain it at a high level. So the path is chosen. But if you've got some things that you could add to it, I would.
Well, I know I've had that issue in the past doing the upgrades where, if some, like you said, if someone tries to run the website while you're in the middle of an upgrade, anytime you change a DLL file, the next call to the website is going to cause those DLLs and a whole bunch of other stuff to start compiling. And that's where a lot of the errors may happen, is if you're not finished installing your upgrade patches and then someone tries to use the website, which then kicks off the compilation, then you wind up with basically, two kind of systems colliding while it's in the process. So what I've done is I actually have a secondary blank website, and that website, I basically call it my maintenance kind of website. It's just got one file in it, And it's just basically a file that says, you know, site is currently down for maintenance, and it's got a JavaScript countdown of how much time I expect the site to be down. What I do on the IIS side is basically I point the live domain to that maintenance folder, and then I have this basically a similar domain name with a slight difference, like the development or maintenance or something like that, that only I know about. And then I point that one to the live. So anyone still going to the original domain name is going to be redirected to that temporary site that just gives a warning, you know, saying that the site is down for maintenance. And then I have a separate URL that I can utilize and only I know about it, that still allows me access to the website so I can continue doing my upgrades or whatever. I don't know if that's something that can be potentially automated. Like for example, the plant and app installation can create a folder in the root of the website that basically just has that one file in there that's like a maintenance file. And then when you're doing an upgrade, you know, I don't know if there's a way that the system can basically tell IIS move the root folder to this one, which is the maintenance page one, and kind of, you know, kick people out of the real site.
At the highest level, I think what we're saying is that the site needs to be offline during the update. That's what you're accomplishing with that manipulation. Your site is fully offline to the end users. And Patrick, do you recall where we landed on making that happen?
I believe it's going to be something similar to what Ben's saying, but maybe not exactly. But we are going to have an indication to anybody who hits the site that the site is undergoing maintenance.
Good. So yep. You'll get a chance to see that during the beta, and but I think we're all in agreement. That's the thing that needs to happen. Prevent hits to it during the middle of the updates, and we're optimistic that will solve a lot of these little problems that we face during updates.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have that in 26.
I think it's headed to. I'm not sure if it's in 26 or not either. It's something we're currently working on, though.
Yeah.
It's whether it's 26, 27, we will announce that. Cool. So good. Glad that you're on track. Back to the underlying problem. I would suspect that doing it on the restore and having it be uninterrupted while doing the upgrade is going to get you much farther down the road. So thanks for letting me first call on you, Ben.
Anytime.
Mark, Happy New Year. Anybody else with a first call? I have some fun things to mention, so I'll do that. In a moment, we'll go to Campfire contributions. I was just working with a client that was upgrading from the older DNN Sharp tools and installing Plant and App, and it was just kind of something that we're going to add to the documentation to make sure that somebody else doesn't run into this same issue. But in ancient history, our tokens module would allow tokens that the name of the tokens we no longer allow them, for example, to start with a number, and there might be other things. I think namespaces can't have dashes, perhaps, but we're now editing and making sure that when you try to create a token namespace, well, let's explore that for a second. I'm going to go to my site. The point is that since the older product didn't do that, you could have a token namespace that did start with a number, and then that causes other issues. So if we create a new one and try and do it, it tells us our new rules. It must start with a letter and contain only alphanumerics. So it's not going to let you have an underscore or a dash. It just has to be letters and numbers, and it can't start with a number. And yeah, Ben is pointing out that underscores used to be allowed, and that I believe that to be the case. And then starting with a number used to be allowed. And so what happens was that as people upgraded, we didn't go back and change those namespaces on you or warn you about them, but they have side impacts. And one of the impacts, for example, of a namespace that begins with a number is that that won't compile in Razor. And so it means that because the syntax of Razor won't let you have functions that begin with numbers. And so basically having that condition prevented you from having any Razor scripts running. And a lot of our things, including, for example, our updates screen now relies on some tokens that are Razor tokens. And so essentially you must have Razor working. And so bottom line is people who are upgrading need to make sure that these namespaces conform to the new rules and don't begin with numbers and don't have underscores. So Ben, that's probably timely for you. But I'm going to update the documentation for that to make sure that we let people know about that. So that's one little thing going on. So we
Can I ask a quick question?
please.
Wasn't there talk about changing it to allow underscores?
We changed, I think APIs naming. Let's take a look at that.
Because that really is going, I mean, right now, all of my existing tokens with underscores will run, but I cannot edit them. If I modify them, try to edit them, then I can't save them because they have the underscore. So which means I can't make any changes or anything like that. And I thought the talk was that it was supposed to be changed, that underscores were supposed to be allowed.
Let's see, Patrick, can we take that as an action item to look at? As far as I know, there's nothing under discussion for changing our rules for token namespaces.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be a major problem, at least for me, because that's one of our biggest ways of doing naming conventions is instead of squashing everything into one word, we were using underscores as ways to delimit, and stuff like that, just so that it was easily readable and whatnot. So there is a huge amount of tokens that we use that have underscores. And if this is not going to be allowed in future versions, we're going to have a major issue in converting that and fixing all that because those tokens are used everywhere.
Yep, that's of course the problem that fixing the namespace is not that hard a deal to do, but changing, since it's text sprinkled throughout your application, it's hard to find and fix. Although if the answer comes down to being that we're not going to support underscores, the reason that we can't support underscores, I suspect there's some scripting that can be done to find and change those in the database at the database level.
Just for clarity, and maybe I missed something, but we're talking about underscores in namespaces only, right?
Yeah, I'm not talking about that because namespaces didn't really exist in DNN
because
Sharp that much as they do in PAA. I'm talking about the actual name of the token.
So
okay.
I think you can. I mean, you can create a token with an underscore.
Not in 118.
The there's we got some terminology things going on. There's the namespace, and then there's the sub or the second part of the name. And I'm going to try this as a constant. So you can have this cafe test underscore name, the token name, the subordinate part after the colon can have an underscore, but the namespace of the token, the cafe part here, cannot. Is that?
That works fine for me. It's the second part. It's the token name. We use underscores everywhere. And once we moved over to 118, which I'm currently stuck at, anytime I tried to update any token that had an underscore in it, I couldn't save it because it told me underscores were not allowed. And that's what I'm saying. I know we had this conversation and I could have sworn I was told, oh no, we're going to fix that. So as long as the token name thing has been fixed, I'm good.
Right. So yeah, so there's this token name here that you are seeing this on screen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the rules. It must start with a letter and contain only alphanumeric and underscore. Or underscore. So you can have test underscore name. You can't have
hyphen. Yeah.
No hyphen. You can't have hyphen, but you can have that. It'll be fine. But just making sure this actual namespace here, when you're creating a new namespace, can't have it. And so that's not going to be a problem for you. Ben, can you confirm?
With
the first part.
The namespace part.
Correct.
Yeah, no, that's fine because I never used underscores in namespaces.
Yep.
I only use them in the name of the token itself.
Perfect. So, yeah, so the good news is this issue then isn't going to impact you. You will be able to save them that look like this. Good. Oh, we don't need it. All right. Good. So we're gaining ground here. So our Campfire website, for anybody who participates in Low Code Campfire, all of you that are here, you can get access to the site, and it's an opportunity for you to share and learn from, share your techniques, learn from the community and from Plantain App as we put in contributions. You can see things that are actually in work, at work. And so we have a list of contributions since the last time that we got together. I added one. I was at work on the 29th. And so this is the ability to see the names and versions of the DLLs that are in your bin folder. And you may or may not need that particular functionality, but it does demonstrate that you can use some techniques to go pull out information that you need about your file system, right, or other things. So this functionality is returning. It's taking a look at all the files that are on the system. I'm actually looking at the property of the file because I wanted to see what version is installed. So this is, like right-click properties if you're in Windows, and then who released it, which is another property of the file. So the purpose of this is from my perspective, oftentimes in support we need to know if you have a DLL that's old or bad and it's installed, it might cause a crash to your system. So for example, going from version 1.24 of Plantain App to 1.25 of Plantain App, we discontinued several products I think live taps was one of them. There's a list of them on the breaking change notices. But so if the DLLs from those older products are present, it causes a conflict within our system and you'll get a dependency injection error. So what can happen is, again, we'll get back to this contribution in a minute, but what can happen in that case, the way that this can come to be is that if you have extensions installed and you decide that we've got this ability to delete an extension, when you click this, it asks, and do you want to delete the files as well? And I know, speaking for myself, I used to say, well, no, that sounds dangerous. I don't want to delete things. So I'll just remove it from DNN without deleting the file. And that what happens is that the extension is no longer the module is no longer available in DNN, but the DLL doesn't get deleted off of the file system. And so that causes this exact condition that is a problem. If you removed one of our older products, but didn't actually say, yes, you want to delete the DLL, it's hanging around out there. Nobody knows. And it's a little bit of a time bomb that when you try to install this version 125, it's a problem. So I wanted a way to be able to say, well, what do you have on your system? And I can now use that to quickly review, do you have the right versions of things? Or do you have things that are discontinued without me actually having to get on and look at your file system? And then I went on and did a nice comparison interface. So for example, I can load up I can extract this information from a known working version 125 system and compare it to your system and say, okay, all these versions match, all these versions don't match. So it helps me dig in and find comparison. Anyway, so that's why I built the thing, the fun technique. Let's get behind it. So if I view this show DLLs form, we can see in Explorer, how does this work? There's a show DLLs button. The button runs a workflow. So it's executing the list bin DLL as JSON workflow. It's coming out with a thing called DLLs, and that's a field that's the field that you see. So all the work is happening elsewhere. It's happening in the workflow. So we'll go take a look at the workflow. So there's this list bin DLLs as workflow. And two techniques, and this might be of use to somebody else as well. There's a find the website root path. This is a Razor script, and it's just a very small Razor script that gets the hosting environment map path. So this is returning what is the root of my DNN site in IIS, and so it gives you a reference into the file system. So we have root path, and then this is running a PowerShell action. And by the way, AI wrote this PowerShell action. I asked it for, I have this path and I want to iterate through and get all the children that exist in that path, and I want to retrieve the file name, the version, and the company, and then I want to put it into a JSON output. And so, well, I'm not a PowerShell expert, just like I'm not a JavaScript expert. Being able to have access to a PowerShell action and the patience to ask for and get AI to get it to write something for you, output that JSON. So if I run this interactively, I've got two outputs defined. One is the JSON, so we see all of our content, and then I think no, I didn't output it. I'll go ahead and output the root path here. that's named the same as that one. Yep. So we'll get two different outputs here. Where's the JSON and where this actually lives on the file system of the server. Y'all are quiet, isn't that? I'm geeking out over that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Dale, I think that's excellent, and I already know of an application for it. Thank you.
Cool. So yeah, you'll be able to use that to iterate. You could change the different if you didn't need DLLs, if you needed something else, if you want to explore another purpose, another reason that I was going to do something like that is that, say for example, you allow your end user to upload a zip file, and now you're going to extract the zip, which we have an action that does that. Maybe you want to walk through the zip and see what they've done and see the size of the files and see if it conforms to your rules. You could use an action like this to go learn all about the files that are inside of the zip and then apply rules, right? Or do things with the files. So I noticed on the chat, Mark said that he used a contribution last week. What contribution did you use, Mark?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Cool. I used a contribution from Anthony Cadden that creates a link to open modules that are on a page in edit mode. One is the DNN edit mode, and the other one is the plant and app manage form mode. So that allows me to open modules in a separate tab, so I can keep them open while I'm doing my work.
Yep, I think it's a very cool technique. I love having these things out there and available.
That's number 19, right? You're talking about?
I'm sorry, I can't quite see it on my.
Oh, okay. I think it's 19. Yeah, I've used that one too.
I had written something like it myself. I have a little button that hovers on my page all the time, so I can open up and do these sorts of things. But my little duty for opening it in DNN settings mode was malfunctioning, and I used his and made it right.
Well, glad that I use this stuff all the time. Anytime so it's good to kind of pay attention to what other people put out there, and even if you don't need the exact thing, you learn the technique behind it and do something with it.
Definitely, it's really nice to have it there.
The thing that I'm going to do on Wednesday, I've got a client that wants to do a application that you want to be able to apply for some product, and so this is a case where there's many forms that need to be filled in. I'm going to do them in a nice tabbed, or he's doing them in a tabbed interface. And so it brings up some questions about how some best practices to make that interface work really well. And so I'm going to do that on the Campfire website. And so there'll be a nice example of how you can transfer information around between forms, and just kind of pushing the limits of what can be done there. So we'll do that. Circling back.
Sounds like a great one.
I hope so. Ben raised his hand. I was about to come back to you, Ben. I see you've pasted.
Yeah, no, mine was actually a question on that contribution 19. Just to clarify, Mark, that's opening up the module in edit mode, not the page, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, my question is, and I'm just curious, I know I've asked this in like DNN forums, and I've gotten people telling me how I could do it to set the entire website in edit mode. But what I still to this day, and I would love to be able to do it because I have my own page maintenance module that I created. I'd like to be able to open a page in edit mode, similar to the pages module built in to DNN. When you like right click on a page, you could say open in edit mode, and it'll open up the new page, but it opens it up automatically in edit mode. You don't have to hit the pencil.
Mhm.
I would like to be able to do exactly that, what you just showed. I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't know how.
I
All I
think we
can ever
talked
do is
about
just
this.
open up the page. Yeah, Mark, we did, but the only thing that people came up with was using, it's like if you hit the pencil 2 times that you
Yeah.
lock it into edit mode, because that is a session variable, if I remember correctly, that you set. But if
No,
you set that, the whole entire website goes into edit mode, and I don't necessarily want that.
it's a cookie. I don't think it's a session. I think it's a cookie. And I think
Well,
all you have to do
yeah,
is set the cookie.
right. Well, that's for the full site edit mode, not for a page. A page, there is no cookie.
Where would you use this? You mean like in the menu, or you would have a list of pages, and where would you
I took the like the page manager that Plantain app designed. I cloned it and
Mhm.
I added a whole series of other extendable features that
Okay.
I use, and I would like to be able in that grid to have a button that says like open up this page, but open it up in edit mode.
Yeah, I see.
So I was just seeing if we could spot if there's anything at the cookie level that when we're in or out of edit mode, if that changes anything at the cookie level. And all right,
See you later,
Mark.
Mark. Have a safe flight.
So we have a
Yeah, that's the same thing that I did, trying to figure out. I'm like, there's got to be something. And the only thing I noticed is that if you put it in edit mode and then click it again to lock it in edit mode,
yes.
then you'll see a cookie appear.
Yeah, so there's probably something in session that, I mean, there's got to be some way that this page knows that it's open. It's not, I mean, like we went to it from, they obviously know how to do it. We can go, if you followed the logic that was behind this edit in the DNN code.
And that's the thing. I downloaded their source and I tried. That is one spaghetti mess of one thing calling another thing, calling another thing, calling another DLL. And I'm like, oh my God. I spent hours like sifting through that code. I'm like, I can't find it. Where is this code for this edit button? So I know it's in there. I just, for the life of me, I can't find it. I don't know where it is located.
A long time ago, I wrote something that dumped session so that you could see what was in session. And so I suspect maybe you can, with a tool like that, which is, I don't have it available to me at the moment, but you might be able to spot it, right? And then you would just know how to. So anyway, the answer is I don't know. Good question. All right. Good. What else do we have?
Oh, did you want to mention the firewall thing that I posted
Oh
in chat?
yeah, thank you. I thought that's where you're coming back to. So it was your virus production is Palo Alto, and Yeah, so you're saying that it SQL hint JS and run mode standalone JS as potential viruses, and it doesn't like them, so it's blocking the download. So those files almost certainly are inside of a zip, correct?
I don't think so. I believe those are downloaded directly as CDN files because what it was accessing was Amazon AWS CDN
Cloud storage.
servers.
Yeah.
And that's what it, when you search for those files, the SQL hint.js, I kind of recognized that because I was like, wait a minute, I know that file, that was Code Mirror, but the other one I wasn't. And when I Googled that one, I found that it was also a Code Mirror file. At least with those two, and I just ran the update again. It took a while because I'm running on a slow DNN development server, but it went through with no problem. Those were the holdups, at least from 118 to 119. I'll see if there's any in the future. But I will say one thing. I just finished the upgrade and one of my grids just died again, the same grid. So I'm going to have to figure out what is going on with that. It's not pulling any data.
Yep.
Oh, well, I'll figure it out.
So I guess, from the update perspective, I guess a note that we could take is that our downloads from CDN just don't have much on error handling, that it assumes that it's, I'm just guessing, right? But it sounds like we're not handling errors, failure to downloads very well. And
yeah, I don't know if that's even something that you can error handle, because if it's being blocked by a third party system like a firewall, you're not really getting any feedback. It's just being blocked.
And now, going back to it, you shared the image. I'm not going to put it up here, but it was the message says download failed, please try again. So this is on our install dependencies button. So I guess it is handling it. It's in the best way it can. It says we have a problem, but we don't know why. And so for you, it's being blocked between point A and point B, and it was out of our control. We couldn't fix it. So. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, all I could say is that if that message that appeared in the console, if that's something that is under your control, like that's a Plantanet message, let's say for argument's sake, maybe to add some additional things saying like, please check third-party firewalls to see if they, block the download, something like that, because it never even occurred to me that that was the reason, because, the general error is just internal server 500.
Yep.
So like it just didn't even dawn on me until I got that email from my own networking people saying, hey, by the way, we just got an alert. And I'm like, well, that makes sense.
So this is a nice generic error. This is what you clicked, what we've been talking about, and clicked install dependencies, and we get a download failed. Please try again, and then JavaScript console has a 500 error that's associated with that. So we could potentially give more clues on what to try, but at the end of the day, we don't necessarily know why it would fail to download, right? So it would just be a clue, things to check. Call support, put in an emergency ticket. That's what I do. I'll try and remember, put those in the notes. Cool. The only other thing that I had for today was the slide, just a reminder what really covered just a little while ago, using the power of these different actions that we have, the Razor action, the JavaScript action, the Powershell action, and together with AI, to be able to do the thing that you want to do. I was trying to describe to somebody yesterday here, and so I'm just if you have something better to talk about for 9 minutes, we can do that. But I'm gonna take advantage of this if we don't. That whatever access you have to AI, I use the OpenAI playground quite a bit. But one of the techniques that I do quite frequently is to say, I have this and I want that. So I have this JSON, and so I just took a portion of it, and I kind of implied with the ellipsis here that there's many records in this thing. And I'm going to define a different need. Let's say that I want it to be different, to just that I'm removing some a couple of attributes, right? So a question like this, but this pattern, it doesn't have to be limited to JavaScript. I do this in SQL and other things as well. But just, hey, I've got this, I want that, help me. And it'll do something like this. And so it'll give me the clue about what to write. And so it's saying I've got a value of this, and the technique that I'm looking for is this, to take the array and do this thing. So I could do this. I can poke this directly into a workflow. I'm going to do it here. We'll set up a new workflow. And so the input is going to be some JSON as a large text, and I can even I'm just going to stub this out here so that we can finish it up here in a minute. So I'm going to execute JavaScript on the server, and I'm going to put the JavaScript that it gave me to work with here, just so that I have a place to put it. We need an output, and then we'll say we're going to do output JSON as the return variable. So whatever that's going to be the output. And so I'm jumping around here because so this thing, when I get it done, it's going to output the JSON. And then finally, let's I had this. I'm just going to take this whole array as my input, and so I'm going to make that be the default value, so I can just quickly play here in the workflow. So we've got some JSON coming in, and we're going to do some processing with it. And so instead of saying let the original array equal some constant, which is what AI thought, instead I'm going to use some JSON. So it's going to pass in the JSON, and it's now going to be called original array. It's going to create, it says new array equals that thing, and that little bit of code that I needed. And then I'm going to return new array. And so whatever you return out of here is going to go into the output token. So here we are, we're on the fly, we're live. Let's see if this is actually going to work. So I've got my default values down here. I don't need to provide anything. And we get not supported. What is that? So whatever technique was going on is probably something that's browser specific. I don't know. So now we do a little bit of exploration with the AI to say, where is it? Did I get rid of it? Oh, sorry. This is just a way. Actually, copy the error message. See if it'll tell me what the problem is. Write it for me. So it's still coming from origin array and it's looping through. Let's see if this is going to do it. Yeah, okay. And
Is the
the syntax correct?
well, the in the I'm just right in the can you use a token like that in the JavaScript? I thought maybe you had to if you use a token, it shouldn't be in brackets. Either that or you add a variable that pulls
Yeah,
a token in.
I might not be passing the variable in correctly.
I think you're supposed to use local tokens as JavaScript variables. So I think that maybe if you don't have the brackets.
Okay, yeah, so some JSON is actually text, and so it needs to be converted to a string. So there's anyway. So maybe what I'm demonstrating is that it's you can still struggle with it, but some of the advanced things that I've been able to do, being able to you can hit above your body weight in doing this stuff, right? But you can run into some trouble too. So you got to struggle through the syntax, much like we do with other bits of low code. So, all right, well, that was unimpressive. But with that, we've coasted into the top of our, so say happy low coding for today. If you can, stick around, and we'll do the afterglow segment, and we can criticize my last 10 minutes of this. So, happy Friday, happy New Year, and we'll see you guys next week.